Hi, welcome to another episode of Hubert's Hot Rods and Fabrication. Today we're going to kind of be jumping around. I'm going to take a look at the running boards. We're going to kind of get an idea of what needs to get done to those. We're going to take a look at this other rear fender and see what all work needs to happen to it still. And then probably get that done off of camera, because why watch me do the same thing twice? And we'll go from there. Oh, and I had a parts delivery yesterday. We'll take a look at that. Okay, well, here are our running boards for this 37 Ford Coupe. And just like everything, they're turds. Uh, where to start, really? The mounting flanges that mount against the car, the frame actually, are there. That's good. They're in one piece. They need a little bit of work, but they are pretty heavily dented along the outside, as you can see here. We'll pull this trim off the outside and then start straightening out this running board. But I don't see anything that's going to stop me from fitting these, really. So let's flip over this one. Same thing. The running board looking down it is eaten up, but the flanges are okay. You see that it's all. I probably will not run this trim on the outside. I want just a plain hot rod looking car, so I won't run any of the trim. If somebody else wants to put that on later, go for it. But there's the running boards right now. Differences that I see right away. Somebody modified these definitely right around here to get around the pocket in the frame, which was replaced. So we'll have to see what needs to happen for that. But all right, they're not terrible and they're definitely fixable. So let's move on. Well, hello there, pretty lady. That is my 54 Ford mainline. It is dirty. I haven't had a chance to wash it or clean it, take it for a drive, any of the good stuff in quite a while. Been busy with other projects. But over to the left here, you see all of the parts for the 37. Sorry, my garage is a little bit of a mess. Let's take a look at these parts. All right, well, here's all of our parts. I got them from Weed Eater Street Rod Components. What we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be doing a Mustang 2 in the front. We're going to be doing a parallel leaf spring in the rear. We are getting rid of all of the factory stuff. I like air ride cars, but this is just not what I want to do for this car. I want to get it as low as possible, good handling. Yeah, let's go from there. Let's take a look at some of these parts. Let's open up boxes and whatnot. All right. I don't want to go too crazy opening boxes and getting parts strewn everywhere. So we're going to do our best to keep things where they are. Here, I've got my leaf springs. This kit already came opened. I got my shocks here, got some hardware here. All of the clevises for the rear leaf springs and the hangers are there. This Dutchman box has got our manual our manual steering rack. We are not doing power steering in this. Let's see what this is. It's like Christmas. So Weed Eater does all of the stuff for these early 30 cars, mid 30 cars. They got a lot of products and great customer support. Okay, this looks like the drums and garbage, or not, I'm sorry, discs. What am I talking about? Drums. Yep, discs and hardware. Slotted and drilled rotors. Here's our our steering rack. that was busted open, so I hope there's no ends or anything that was supposed to be in here. Oh yeah, there is. There's hardware. Geez, I hope I'm not missing anything. I'll call them and just let them know. Great. All right, let's see what's in these little boxes. Man, they really package these well. They tape them and glue them. Ah, oh, control arms. Okay. Beautiful control arms that they make. Mustang 2 control arms. Uppers and lowers are in this box. Here's your uppers. Looks like I'm missing a cage nut and some bushings there. Or a castle nut. Here's the lowers. Just looking for that castle nut now. There it is. Okay. Cool. Control arms in that one. Brackets. Big bolts, brackets. All right. Boxes of boxes. A left and a right. Probably brake calipers. Nope. Spindles. All right. Yeah, I'll just have to keep going through all of these parts and see what else we have. Alrighty, after opening all the boxes, the only thing that I see I'm missing is bearings and calipers and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep looking and reach out to Weed Eater. All right, next step. Okay, field trip's over and it's time to get back to work. Let's get this trim cut off. I think that's the first best thing. We're going to knock these bolts off. There's no point in even trying to save any of this. Let's get at it. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? Cut those off, got those removed. Um, yeah, not much to say about it. As you see, they're bent. You know, we've seen that before. Taking that trim off didn't fix that, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rough. I'm just going to put this in the vise, or I'm going to put it on my workbench, and I'm going to get some of this bend out of there on both of these. It really isn't affecting the way that these are going to fit. Um, this one I see has a bow to it. There's a huge dent right here, so that is going to affect the way that this fits a little bit. But I need carriage bolts, so that is the next step. Get carriage bolts, get this ready to mock up, and go from there. La, 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 la. Let's give this a go. This has been bent for a long time. I can hear the crunching of the rust, just trying to reform the shape. Just little bends. Okay, well, I guess I should talk to you while I'm doing this. There's a bend in the middle of this right here that I'm going to have to get a little bit of relief taken out of it, but I want to get the outer edge. Woo! I want to get that outer edge straightened out a little bit so I'm not like, as I'm unbending it, tacoing the rest of this running board this way, if that makes sense. Just a little bit more. I have that's a little bit better. I have angle iron. I'm going to bolt to the outside of this, and I'm going to actually straighten it so it's laser straight, you know, all that good stuff. Do what I do. But all right, I'm going to run to the store, get some carriage bolts. All right, after fighting with the dog there to get off my mat, I finally got this running board up there and mocked up. I've got a couple bolts in there. Off camera, I went ahead and straightened that a little bit better. The mounting flange up here in the front was completely crunched where it hit the fender, and all that mounting area is going to come together. So I went ahead and straightened that the best that I could without having a fender in it. This area of the car is pretty rusty, but I'm still going to try and get the fender up there to mock it up. The front fenders are going to be a little bit of a challenge because getting the fenders together with the grill and everything is going to take some work. So we'll work on that. Same thing goes with the back. The back there, we'll just chase all of the threads in the body. All of those are all carriage bolts, or I'm sorry, they're cage nuts inside of there. So we will chase all of the nuts, try to save all of the cage nuts as possible. Let's go. Let's do this. Here's a better look at the rear passenger side fender mounting area. right up in there. That's all rusted out where the rocker is going to go. I have replacement rockers there. I'm going to have to make a patch there for that. These bolt mounting flange here is pretty, is going to need some work. Okay, I'll show you what I'm going to do there working forward in the future. But I just wanted to show you, here's a closer look. I'm going to go ahead and chase the threads. This is a pretty close up, but I'm just going to try and show you what I'm looking at here. On this mounting flange on the car, on the actual body here, you can see there's a mounting hole right here. I don't know if you can or can't, but if you look, you can see that this comes in. It like creates a bump. Now, I have to hammer, it does that on almost every one of these mounting bolts. I have to hammer those in this way, in towards the body. So when I go to mount this, there isn't a huge gap here inside of this seam. Yes, there was welting that originally went in here, but I am not going to put welting in here. I'm going to try and get this seam to fit as tight as possible. Yes, I might put welting in the future, but I like to build everything with as tight of tolerances as possible. Yes, that'll affect the holes down at the bottom of the fender, down there where it mounts to the running board and all of that stuff. But it'll be very minimum. All of the holes will be oversized. All of the fender mounting holes are insanely huge and slotted on the actual fender itself. As you can see, they're all slotted. Okay, so nothing to worry about. All right, I went ahead and hammered in all of the mounting flange areas for the fender. So let's try to get this fender up there. This should be fun. So what it looked like, all of those mounting holes, what happens is when they build these cars with welting, welting gives. So what they do is they over tighten these bolts and it pulls the welting together and then ends up pulling that bolt hole through. So that's what it looked like ended up happening. So we'll just be careful that we don't do that. It was a flimsy fender. It seems somewhat rigid when you have it off the car, but then when you go to realign it, this thing's like a wet rope. Okay, I got one in. Let's go towards the rear. Okay. Right away, this mounting flange looks really good. Nice and tight. It's what we want to see. There we go. Okay. Grab a couple clamps, throw some clamps on it. I like it. Okay. Our fender extension, we'll take a closer look at that. But our fender extension is lining up with the bottom of the fender and the body and the running board, and everything's coming together. Everything's coming together and it looks good. Gaps are looking good. All right, let's take a closer look. Here's a closer look at that lower fender section, how it's fitting to the running boards, into the fender. And hammering in those mounting bolts made a huge difference. You can see that there's almost no gap. This is just finger tight right now. That's what we want. Let's take a look at the back. Try and not jostle you around too much. There's the gap. And then coming along to the back, see why we needed this structure back here, because the whole back panel is just roached. I have a replacement panel for it, but it's going to take getting the fender alignment and all of that because it's so crushed. I need the fenders in place before even attempting to tackle that. So let's keep working on the fenders. Next thing, let's grab the rear fender brace. All right, I got the fender brace for the rear. I've never had these on, or there were no fender braces to begin with. So let's figure out how they go. Should be pretty self-explanatory. The flange that you mount to the fender on this passenger side is still here. So luckily we have something to go by. And I see a mounting flange in here. Okay. Well, that was pretty easy. Figured that out. Now I got to bust, it's a broken bracket that's in there. I got to remove the piece of the old broken bracket and the cage nut and everything that's in the frame. So that should be awesome. And then we'll go from there. I might have to do a little bit of adjustment on the bottom of this fender, but that is what I expected. We knew that this fender still needed work. You know, we know that it does. We're working on the front. We got this seam that still needs to happen, and then this bottom edge could use some work. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bolt removed inside off of the frame and move on to the next step of fitting the fender brace. All right, well, I think that's a good time to stop right now. Thank you for watching along another episode of Hubert's Hot Rods and Fabrication. Like, subscribe, you know, I say tell your friends about it. Pass along, share this video, you know. Hopefully somebody's learning something. Hopefully you guys are learning something. Hopefully it's just passing your time and it's good entertainment. Thank you for leaving your comments. Thank you for your likes and your subscribes. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Helps grow the channel. If you could continue to do so, I would really appreciate it. All right, we'll see you on the next one.